What's up everyone, thanks for watching. This past November I decided to build a new workshop in the back of my property, and today we're just about finished with it. So I thought I'd make a quick video just to show you the details of the shop, show you some of the progress that I've made so far, and maybe talk about one or two things I'd like to do in the future. So stay tuned. The new shop is a 20 by 40 metal accessory building. It's made by Carports, and it's rated for 180 mile-an-hour winds, which is pretty important to us on the east coast of Florida as we get a lot of hurricanes. The first thing that needed to be done was to have the concrete slab poured, and I hired a company to come in and bring a few loads of dirt in to raise up the level of the building, and then they formed up and poured the slab just after Thanksgiving. From there we just had to wait about 6 weeks for the company to show up to assemble the building. I was really amazed by how fast these guys could work. They showed up at 7:30 in the morning to assemble this building, and they were done with the doors, the trim, everything by 3:30 in the afternoon. My garage workshop was just under 500 square foot compared to the 800 square foot I've got now in the new shop. So it'll be nice to have the extra room, but it'll be really nice to declutter the house as well. Right now I'm storing all kinds of stuff that belongs in a garage and spare bedrooms and back porches. So it'd be nice to use a garage for normal garage things and then have my workspace separate from the house. The next major component of the build was getting the electric installed. While we were waiting on the contractor to come, my son and I took the opportunity to seal the concrete floors with this low luster sealer from Home Depot. This stuff works really good. It kind of got a bad rap after I bought it. I read some reviews and a lot of people don't like it and said it left a milky finish. But we learned that if you clean the surface down really well before you start, we used a pump sprayer to spray the material on and then came back and back rolled it with some paint rollers. We got a really nice finish out of this. A couple days after finishing the floors, the electrician showed up and ran the new electrical service to the shop. And once I had electric, I was able to call a couple friends over and get this package AC unit installed to the building. Next on the list was to get the building insulated. I ended up going with spray foam insulation on this. I hired a company to come out and do closed cell spray foam, and they did it 1.5 inches thick on the walls and on the ceiling, and it made a heck of a difference. Between the AC and the insulation, I should have no problem keeping this 800 square foot space cool in the summertime. Here I'm getting ready to install the lights in the building. It was hard to mount anything to these metal studs, this 12 gauge steel, so instead I took a 1x4 board and I ran them down the length of the building in 3 different places across 2 sides and then one down the middle to hang the shop lights from. For lighting the shop, I ended up going with some 4-foot LED shop lights that I picked up on Amazon. These things are great. I picked up a 12 pack of them for like $279 or something like that, and 12 lights was enough to light up the whole shop from front to back. There are no dead spots. These things are super bright, and I'm really happy with the performance on them. I'll leave a link to these lights in the description just in case you're interested in a cheap option to light your shop. I had to contend with the pitch of the roof on the outer 2 rows of lights, so I used the supplied eye hooks and chains to hang them so they would face straight down. But on the middle row of lights, I was able to just screw them directly into the 1x4 boards. There's no ballast or anything on the top part of the light, so it's just a piece of sheet metal, so you could just take a self-tapping screw and screw through the 2 sides without any risk of hitting any electrical components. And here's just a finished shot of the light install. I really like how everything turned out. I may go back later on and do a little bit of cable management, but overall, I'm really happy with this setup. I didn't want to leave the interior walls bare, and I didn't want to use drywall, so I ended up using 5/8 inch plywood, just the cheap sheathing that you'd use on the exterior walls or a roof, and I put a couple coats of paint on them and installed them all the way around the shop. This installation did not go too smoothly. It was pretty difficult to get through the plywood and into the steel. I ended up going through 3 different brands of self-tapping screws to find one that worked really well, and it took a lot longer than I had anticipated. It ended up taking a couple of days to get this done, but I was able to cut around all of the electrical outlets and rip the boards to size when I found that the studs weren't 4 foot on center every time, and work my way around the shop. I applied the paint before I put the boards onto the wall. I just thought that I could get more paint on and maybe not have to do as many coats. But that didn't work out either, and I ended up putting a second coat on when I got all the boards installed. After I got the walls mostly finished, I decided that was a good time to start bringing my tools in. For the last couple of months, I had been contemplating on how I would lay out the shop. I know for sure that I want to keep the back half of the shop open as possible to put some metalworking equipment in and leave a big assembly area. So ultimately, the woodworking portion of this garage is going to end up just about the way that I had it set up in my two-car garage. That was a 20 by 24 space, and I figure I can use about the same amount of room and put the tools roughly in the same locations that they were in the garage. I was able to move all the tools over using a trailer and a dolly, except for my toolbox. I know my limits, and this thing's super heavy, and I wasn't about to risk damaging it, so I ended up calling a wrecker to load it up from the garage and move it over 75 feet to my new shop. I still have a few things that I need to bring over from my garage, but for the most part, everything's in its rough place. The back part of the shop is nice and open, and it'll be a good assembly area and a good place to add like a metal fab table, put my welder, the forge and anvil will stay back there. And I got the AC final installed with the return and register all hooked up. And now there's still a couple of things I need to address. The most important thing is dust collection. Over the last 2 years, I've gotten a couple eye infections that I can pretty much associate with working with sawdust in my shop. So I'm looking to upgrade the Harbor Freight dust collector that I've had for the last 12 years to something nice and big, two-stage, that I could hard plumb into these top part of the rafters here and run a line to each tool and get some really good dust collection going. And besides upgrading my dust collection system, I still need to make some shop cabinets to be able to store some of the stuff that still needs to come out of my garage. I want to remake the outfeed table for my table saw, and I want to create some welding table or assembly table in the back to use for some metalworking projects. And so you can see I've gotten a lot done, but I still got a long ways to go to get this shop completed. I hope you guys like the progress of the shop so far, and if you did, I hope you liked the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.